Still can't sleep, huh? Flying sheep. You should have called me sooner. Those are rare. Want me to tell you a story? One that'll make those noisy sheep seem boring. Once upon a time, in a village nestled at the edge of an ancient forest, there lived a young girl named Elara. Every night she would gaze at the stars, dreaming of adventures beyond the mountains that touched the sky. But her favorite story was about the dragon that guarded the Moonstone Peak, a dragon said to be fierce yet lonely, for no one had ever dared to befriend him. One evening, as the golden hues of sunset painted the heavens, Elara ventured beyond the village. She followed the whispers of the wind, guiding her to the base of Moonstone Peak. As she climbed, the air grew colder, and a deep, echoing growl rumbled through the cliffs. There, standing majestic and powerful, was the dragon. His scales shimmered like silver under the fading light, his eyes a mix of fire and deep sadness. Elara's heart raced, but not with fear. It was filled with a kind of deep recognition, a connection that transcended words. He was both fierce and vulnerable, a being whose loneliness mirrored her own. The dragon's eyes widened as she stepped closer. "Why do you not run, little human?" His voice was a low, thunderous murmur. "I've heard tales of your might," Elara said, her voice steady, "but they forgot to mention your loneliness." The dragon's face softened, centuries of solitude etched in his eyes. A deep and ancient loneliness echoed in the tone of his voice. "Humans fear what they don't understand," he sighed, his words blending with the wind. Elara smiled. "Then let me understand you." Days turned to weeks as Elara visited him every sunset. She learned his name, Calum, the guardian of Moonstone Peak. He shared stories of the stars, tales of forgotten ages, and of the curse that bound him to the mountain, a curse that could only be broken by a love given freely and without fear. Elara's heart grew fonder with each visit, and Calum's icy walls melted. But as her affection blossomed, so did the worry in her village. They feared she had been enchanted, bewitched by the dragon's spell. One night, torches blazed as villagers marched to Moonstone Peak. "The dragon must be slain," they cried. Elara ran to Calum, tears streaming down her face. "You must fly away," she pleaded. But Calum stood firm. "I will not harm them. Their fear is not their fault." Just as the villagers reached them, spears drawn, Elara threw herself before Calum. "Stop! He is not your enemy." "Step away, Elara," her father shouted. "He's deceived you." "No," she sobbed, her voice trembling but resolute. "I love him." A gasp rippled through the crowd, and at that moment a brilliant light enveloped them. The curse shattered, breaking like dust in the wind. Calum's scales glistened, his form shifting and shimmering, until he stood not as a dragon but as a young man. his silvery eyes gleaming with amazement and gratitude. The villagers were stunned, but Ilara's father stepped forward, his gaze softening. "Forgive us," he whispered. "We let fear blind us." With the curse broken, Calum was free. Yet he chose to stay, to live among the people who once feared him, and to be with the one who had freed his heart. And every night, under the same stars Ilara once dreamed beneath, they would gaze together, no longer bound by fear, but by a love as endless as the night sky. Yes, it does sound familiar, doesn't it? Maybe it's a common folktale from various cultures, or perhaps a reinterpretation of an older legend. These kinds of stories often have themes and characters that are repeated across different cultures and times. It's interesting how these familiar elements can resonate with audiences and create a sense of comfort and nostalgia. Good night, sweetheart.